Record. Okay, guys. So welcome back to another episode. It's Shara from Ken Blue. I think I'm gonna start that again. Okay, guys. So again, it's Shara from Ken Blue. Want to welcome you back to another episode talking about episode of what? Okay, let me stop. Do I stop? Do I? Okay. Hey guys, it's Sayo from Ken Blue, and here to give you another episode talking about how I'm building my business in 2020. Don't forget to leave a comment, to like and subscribe, and we're going to get right into it. So, my screen is shared today because I'm trying to show you guys very practically some of the things that I do and some of the activities that I'm undertaking to help build and develop my business. Today I'm focusing more on some of the smaller, well not smaller things, but some of the smaller things that I'm doing just to kind of give people a bit of insight into some of the background that goes into building the business. So I've got my lovely screen here. I just like this picture. I don't know why it's in my background, but I just like the picture. So first I'm going to show you some of my sticky notes. As I mentioned in the last video, I split business into these particular sub-settings. So we have management, which I include administration, overall management, technical slash digital support. Within Ken Blue itself, I actually just have web maintenance and things like that because that's the actual area. And then I have things like, then we have sales, which also includes operation and production, depending on what you're doing. And you have services, well, I have services myself in Ken Blue. We have research and development, and we have customer service. Then you have marketing. Within marketing, you have branding, design, you have promotion, public relations, and last but not least, you have compliance, which deals with finance, compliance in itself, and legal. So these are the kind of things that, the way I split things. Close this now. You kind of have, if I close that, you'd see I've got each particular area with some to do on there. So for example, I have operations and services, then you've got customer services here, events, some things that I'm planning, some things that are on my to-do list. Then I have promotion, certain things I need to do as well, design, branding, research and development, public relations, blank at the moment because I'm still working on some things in there. Administration, management, a few things in management, let me delete that, like it to look neat. Website maintenance, human resources, some of the things that I'm looking into there. And then compliance, finance, legal, some of the stuff that has the most stuff to do. So, a lot of people make to-do lists, and to-do lists are fantastic tools. They're really good. But when you're running a business, sometimes you can get so bogged down on doing certain things that you don't realize that there's other things that need to be considered and looked at. One of the things that I've done is I've set myself up with a weekly plan that I work with. So I've dedicated myself to doing at least 40 hours per week on my business. And I've given myself Monday to Friday mainly, and I've given myself 12-hour slots. Now, of course, if I do Monday to Friday 12 hours, that definitely makes up 40 hours. Just doing 4 days of 10 hours makes up 40 hours if you do the math. But the idea is to essentially give myself enough time in each day to do it, because life happens. I don't want to give myself a strict regime that I can't realistically work towards, because life happens. I've got other responsibilities and other area of my life that I need to maintain and monitor. So I can't sit down and just be like, okay, I'm going to spend like 24 hours running my business. Although a lot of people say, yeah, put the work in. There's a way to work smart, not just work hard. So work hard and work smart. And I find that when you're more realistic with your time, you're less likely to give up, because you're giving yourself space and leeway for certain things that are inevitable in life. Yeah. So I split it up into daily segments. You've got my morning segment, which is 8 to 12. That's because I'm often quite productive at that time. So I try to wake up around 6:30, 6 o'clock and get myself ready for 8 and then start things at 8. Then I have a break between 12 and 1. Yeah, have a break, wink, wink, if that ever happens. Then I have 1 to 4. That's the afternoon segment. Then I have an evening segment of 5 to 8. Then another break, and have a break, and have 10 to 12. Now that equals 12 hours in total. So if I just want to do 10 hours over 4 days, I just have to remove 2 hours each day to kind of work at that. Then I have different things that I want to do. So I want to target doing 20 hours towards personal stuff. So I don't want to become so overwhelmed with business that I don't do things I need to do in my life. So I dedicate myself about 20 hours to do personal stuff. And you'll see in this diagram below where those hours go. 10 hours building. So building is doing background work within the business that doesn't automatically affect the business right now, but does have an impact on the business in the long term. So one of the things I have on my list to do in one of these lists here, I think it's management. Oh, text for company profile, for example. So that's something I'm working on here. So there's a company profile I've done. One of my to-do lists was to get a template. So I got some templates. I want to create like a nice company profile. So I saw this template online, for example, that I'm going to sort of use as a benchmark, as something to kind of help me with it. So it's got some information. So it's like going to be like a little magazine that I'm going to give to people who are stakeholders and who want to have a close professional relationship with the business. The philosophy behind the business, the primary objectives. Then page 3 and 4 is what is Kenblue, why the name, and all that kind of stuff. And it's got quite a few pages that I'm going through. There's other documents that have other information that I'm going to now put into it as well. So, for example, that's something that goes under the building category. Then we have the running category. So actually running the business day to day. That's things like promoting things on social media. So one of the things I wanted to have in place, which is part of building that helps me to run, was to get a social media campaign plan in place. So just to show you that very quickly, using Instagram as an example, last day of update. So I try to update this spreadsheet every day. So the last day I updated it was the 13th. I'm recording this on the 14th. Whether I put it out on the 14th or the 15th is a whole different story, but I'm recording it on the 14th. And 2 posts a day on average were what most brands do. Of course, some do more, some do less, but a 2 posts a day average is what I was looking towards. I have campaign name, I have description, I have the type of content, the frequency of that particular content per week, an inventory of how many of this I should have, the current inventory. So for some things like the quizzes and games, I already have 18 of them in inventory, and I need to have 15 minimum because I'm trying to put them in 4 times a week. But for the videos, I need to have 6 in my inventory. I currently have 0 because they're harder to make, they take a lot longer, and I haven't actually had the time to do them. So I need to work out time to do that as well. And then that's just something I put together to help me manage my social media content. So I make a lot of content on my phone. So at the moment, a lot of the content is on my phone, and all I do when I'm ready is line it up, use Buffer to post it on social media at particular times. So then we have information. Now, information is the art of learning. So any type of research, any type of reading that I need to do, I put it within the information area. If I'm doing target market research, I'm talking to potential customers about certain things, getting feedback, analyzing feedback. If I'm reading about the new changes in taxation laws and so on and so forth, certain documents that are coming out, certain things that the government are doing, I have to allot myself some time to do that. Because within the industry that I'm working in, I need to stay on top of everything that's happening. I need to know how things are happening. I have a spreadsheet that I don't want to look for right now that gives me all of the different websites for different areas of business news. So, finance, marketing, so I can constantly read on a daily basis, or whenever it's scheduled in my schedule, whenever it's scheduled, I can actually just go through certain things and understand, okay, at this time I want to look at this, at that time I want to look at that, and so on and so forth. Then we also have networking. I put 9 hours a week minimum to networking. So that's to talking to potential customers, that's talking to people on Twitter. Last week I spoke to a gentleman, I won't say his name, on Twitter, who is he's working towards raising up a fund of black businesses or individuals who want to invest in other black businesses of 40 million. So I reached out to him, we had a conversation, we're planning to have some meetings. That is part of networking, Then we have client work. So I dedicate at least 15 hours to client work a week. That's going to increase as the time goes on. The reason why is because this month alone, I'm focusing a lot more on building, on the building and the running part. Hopefully by the end of the month, I would have had certain things in place that would help me to do a lot less work in the building and the running part. So I would still be doing the building, but I would have put certain things in place so I don't have to do as much building. And with the running, I would create systems that allow things to run smoother so I can spend more time in the client part. But it's important for me to have that in mind and to kind of work that out for myself. That, okay, Sayo, January, you're going to be focused on a lot more on building, on running. February, March, you'll spend a lot more on client work because I intend to have a lot more clients in the next couple of months than I have in this particular month. So I have a few people lined up, but I want to do a lot more with them. So then ultimately, when you calculate it all together, it's looking at 60 hours per week if I do every single hour. That gives me time, and I've already factored in 20 hours of personal time. But that also allows me to work with anything that happens unexpectedly, because I want to be realistic with what I'm doing and make sure it's working well. So then I have a guideline, so I don't necessarily stick to this strictly. So for example, again, today's the 14th, which is a Monday. Totally forgot the day there. It's a Monday. So for example, spent the morning doing some running stuff. Around this time, I'm meant to be doing client work, but my running has spilled over because I had to do a lot of extra stuff. And then in the afternoon, I'm going to do some networking, the early evening, shall I say. I have a few calls to make and a few discussions to have with people. And then in the evening, I'm going to do a lot of reading. I've got certain books I'm reading. I need to finish the personal MBA. I need to finish the Financial Times Guide to Business Startups. I need to finish the Lean Startup. I've got a whole lot of business books. I'm reading a book on tax just to brush up on some tax information. There's a lot of stuff I need to read and get through. That also helps what I provide for my clients. Now, obviously, I don't stick to this strictly because, as I've said, this is around 1:30 when I'm recording this in the afternoon, and I've run over time-wise with my running. I've gone into my client work time. So what has to happen is I need to take some running time from another day and lose that to today. So or depending on how much client work I have to do. If I don't have too many clients, then I can reduce the amount of client work I'm going to do today based on the clients I have. Yeah. So it's all about managing your time and not like being too strict. But like I've said, Tuesday afternoon, I've given myself some personal time. Wednesday evening to late night, I've given myself personal time. Saturday for most of the day is personal, and Sunday is personal. Saturday morning, I put it down as information. So although it's work, it's reading work, it's kind of a bit more relaxed research. So my Saturday is not going to be like as intense. And then Sunday evening, I've got running because I want to kind of do some planning for the following week. So I had to put that in there. And how that looks, using last week as an example, I'll use Wednesday as an example. In the morning, I spent 1 hour doing building and 1 hour doing running. So I didn't get to spend my 4 hours on Wednesday morning. I can't remember exactly why, but I didn't get to spend my 4 hours doing running on that morning. I think maybe I woke up late, or maybe something else happened that kind of delayed me. Then in the afternoon, the same day, I did more running. So my running ran into the afternoon. Then in the evening, I did even more running. That day I did 7 hours of running, but there was a lot of things I was putting in place that I needed to do, talking to potential clientele, sending out invoices, things that had to get done in order for me to run the business. So I had to make up for certain things on other days. It looks like I do a lot of running each week. But Friday, for example, I only spent 7 hours, only 2 hours on running. I spent 3 hours on information and 2 hours on client work. But overall last week, I spent 51 hours. So 40 hours was my target, and it looked in each day like I wasn't doing that much, but when I added it all together, it was 51 hours worth of work. So it's all about helping me manage myself, manage my time, manage how I work to ensure that I'm doing the things that need to get done. And I split them into running, information, building, networking, and client work, because all of these things are important to stay on top of. I can't allow myself to be bogged down on running the business and forget that there's things I need to do in the background to build the business, to make it easier in the following months. And I can't spend so much time on building the business that I forget I have a social media presence I need to maintain. I have client relationships that I need to maintain. I have stakeholders that I need to constantly talk to. One of the funny things I put on one of my to-do lists that I didn't put up here for various reasons is I have a list of conversations you don't want to have but you have to have. Because I'm somebody who, I often put aside conversations I know I should have because it's like, I'm too busy. But I make it a priority as part of my running in the morning or the afternoon to have certain conversations with certain people. And these could be clients because maybe things have gotten awkward somewhere. These could be stakeholders. These could be people who are just generally not pleasant. And that might sound weird to say, but in business, there are some people you just don't want to actually talk to, but you have to. And busyness can give you excuses as to why you've avoided that conversation. So I do things to ensure that I don't avoid the conversation with those people. Ultimately, that's what I wanted to kind of go through and to highlight how my days and my week work so that people can see some ways you can structure yourself Now, there are a lot of apps you can use. Trello, I believe, is a good one. Monday.com is a good one to help you manage projects. And I also do use those things on my phone as well. So I don't just do it by spreadsheet. But I wanted to use a spreadsheet because it's quite simple for me to kind of run through. And I can adapt it a lot easier, whereas apps kind of have to fit with what they do. So yeah, forgive me again for the fast speaking, but surely you guys would eventually get used to it and realize that's how I speak. And I will be recording another video in a few days, giving a bit more insight into some of the stuff I'm doing and how things are being run within the business. And again, like and subscribe, comment, share. And if anybody has any particular questions, feel free to leave them in a comment and I'll try as much as I can to answer them as soon as I get a chance. Have a wonderful day, guys, and thank you for watching. Peace.